Hi, and welcome to the Sabbath Christian Church's online sermon. We have been digging deeper and deeper into the Hebrew meaning of the various aspects of Abraham. One of the aspects that goes with that is Ra'adan, which has to do with Ra'adan, which is the father is the judge. He gives judgment. The judgment, we have to go back a step. All this comes from the very beginning when God created man in his image. God being the judge, that means people have the ability, with the right knowledge, with the righteousness, with the faith, all the things that are necessary to give judgment as God gives judgment, based, of course, on the law. But sometimes it's not all that simple. Now, the various meanings of the Abadan is father is judge, to govern, judgment, ordinance. And so those are the various Hebrew aspects of judgment. Now, God has all the authority and has all the judgment, and he rendered judgment, for example, with Noah during Noah's time. He had Noah preaching for him, rendering judgment upon the people, telling them this is what you're doing wrong, and that they were not doing that. And Noah, being the father of the rest of the people on earth after the flood, at that time was still acting as the father to these people who would not accept him anyway. Could have been their judge. It could have been their high priest. He could have been their ruler, but they would not accept it. And so God rendered a different kind of judgment on them. And we know, of course, that Noah built the ark on his own. Now, after that, Noah, after the flood and everything, Noah had to render judgment on certain people, certain of his children, grandchildren, of what they did. So he had the authority based on his position given to him by God. He was the one that everything comes from. And certain of his children continued on Noah's way, and others, did not do it as well. That's not the point. So Abraham did have to judge his grandson. Noah did. Abraham also judged the people he was in charge of. He, in a sense, got mixed up in this authority when they were in Egypt. Now, God assigns those in authority to render proper judgment based on his word, just as he renders proper judgment as he did on the world before the flood, for not following, not being what they were made to be in his image, made in his image. There are cases, however, that right and wrong may not be that readily apparent. I mean, someone, plans and executes a murder, pre-planned murder and everything. That's a simple case. And the judgment is easy to call on that. And the judgment assigned is, of course, is death. But there are other cases that are not quite simple, as we've seen in a lot of things that go on. And so, therefore, God is not going to, he assigned people through Noah, he assigned people to be judges during the time. People chose them because of they could see in his position, the righteous people, the good people could see that this person had that kind of judgment. And Romans says it, every person is to be subject to governing authorities. There is no authority except from God, and those which exist are established by God. So all these governing authorities, this is said in Romans after Jesus' death and resurrection, and the governing authorities at that time was Rome. But God will see to it that those in governing authorities will not do anything wrong to his people. So, because he's an authority over them. Now, the meaning of a judge is further complicated that the ancients knew well what the law, civil rights, domestic, otherwise. They did not think of themselves as ruled by laws. Well, that's a person that is talking today that has a kind of a Christian awareness, this is the love of God that we keep His commandments. So we are ruled by the laws. We're not in lockstep to the law. I mean, that we can do right things and we have the flexibility to be more in the way of making decisions that help people and things of that kind. So the centering of the law, the rulership, the government in a man was deeply ingrained. The administration of judgment in the early days of the desert to this day rests with patriarchal seniors, passed on from Noah and all the way down, and we follow that, all the way down to Jesus. Deuteronomy says, I charge your judges at that time, saying, hear the cases between your fellow countrymen, and judge righteously between a man and his fellow countryman or the alien who is with them. There's the cases where, and we have different things of that sort going on television programs, or we see things of this nature going on, where you have a jury that is more than one person judging, or in cases that it can be just the judge himself. Now, in Psalm says, he may vindicate the afflicted of the people, and save the children of the needy, and crush the oppressor. So this God is saying that he can do this, and therefore that the people can judge in that way. The judges of that time. It's a very technical kind of thing here. They're judges in domestic and civil, domestic and religious cases, and there was a specific judgment in the case of charges. They shall justify the righteous and condemn the wicked. So we have people doing that with authority, with those people who can enforce the authority. He may judge your people with righteousness, and you're afflicted with justice. This is what God does. And this is the way that the people who are in the position of being a judge has to think about themselves. Is this what God would do? Is this based on what we've seen the judges and the law have done and God has done in situations? There was a civil officer, he had executive as well as judicial powers. So oftentimes, like David, he would have this executive kind of power, and Solomon, and others who were ruled that way. In the heredity. David appealed to God as his judge in the controversy with Saul. The Lord will judge. In some cases where we can't decide this, God will decide in his way. So he is ultimately the judge. Samuel says, therefore, the Lord therefore be judge and decide between you and me. The person appealed the case and asked God. Because all authority is God's, he shall ultimately act as judge of the world at the last great assize. He is the one that's going to do to the world what he did back in Noah's time, except with fire, not water. God is coming to judge the earth, judge the world in righteousness, and the heavens declare his righteousness, for he himself is judge. So this is the common word to designate the function of government in any realm that it may be done according to God. Many governments that did not do it according to God, God destroyed them because of their destroy them or destroy their authority. It happened to many countries. I won't go into details. And Job says, for though I were right, I could not answer. I would have to employ mercy of my judge. And this is what the whole ultimate judgment of right and wrong happens, is to implore the mercy of God, which we will see in the next part of judgment. Amen, and thank you for watching and listening.